So AECOsim Building Designer Test 14. This time we'll see the interpolation between Revit to AECOsim Building Designer. This is Autodesk's Germany's sample file, Revit sample file, which has a little bit of more detail than um, normal, just standard Autodesk sample file from US. It's kind of okay size to test, but when I export as DGN file, let's see how good we can see in Bentley software that DGN export from Autodesk Revit. So here the export options we have. I'm going to open to see in Bentley viewer. No connected project current registered. Please contact your organization. This is just viewer. Why I need registration? Okay, so I cannot use viewer. That's weird. Yeah, there we go. So I use the viewer, and when I see the result from DGN export, as you can see, it's such a poor DGN export from Revit. I don't know what to do with Revit really. So if I import in AECOsim the same file that I export from Revit, if I open it, and you see it's just line element, not the 3D element is exported. So it's always same result. The DGN export doesn't really work well from Revit. Probably we could install iModel exporter, and then that link into AECOsim would maybe work better. But at the moment, it's a little bit of pain to export DGN file. So I decided to export just normal DWG file out of it, and instead of using a solid meter unit, I'll use project internal instead of the geographical coordinates, and let's export this DWG file into this folder. And I guess it's better to assign DWG file in AECOsim Building Designer and export as IFC would be better than DGN export from Revit. There is also option we could definitely search for iModel exporter for Revit. AECOsim plugin exporter. So where we can go and down store Bentley product IS. Okay, do you have to buy this really? Some Revit plugin. AECOsim is interpolative workflow allowing design change management, revision history. Revit architectural structure model to possibility AECOsim workflow. This enables. So download now. Is that free software? I'm just curious. So I'm going to download it to their application, save. In the meantime, I think DWG file is almost ready to export. I'm finishing the DWG export. Still exporting it, so it's funny. Yeah, it's done. So now I'm going to AECOsim and going to import DWG file instead of DGN file. I think we get better result. Now we importing the file inside of MicroStation, the AECOsim, and in the meantime I'm going to install this Revit plugin connect edition. What it does. Let's see. AECOsim Revit plugin connect edition. And now I'm going to see it's still importing. It's gonna be a lot of data, so I'll just leave it work, run. Hopefully it doesn't crash. So now the AECOsim Revit plugin, what is exactly? Let's see. So it is for AECOsim, Revit and Tekra, and AECOsim through plugin available for each Bentley. AECOsim integrates structural model. Bentley. Okay. So there is such a thing. So we can actually with this repository new from repository update from publish I model. So there is some explanation. I trying to look for things my work, but at the moment still importing the Revit the DWG file, which looks like huge. If we open this DWG file in yeah, so views and support, it's sad. Interesting. I'll just pause shortly until we importing the model in AECOsim building design in Rhino, Revit in Rhino to see if it was problem in AECOsim building designer or if it was Revit's problem, but it's quite a mess in this. While Rhino is open, I'm just going to again pause the video. This is really terrible result in AECOsim. So Rhino is open. I'll try to put actually DGN file directly in Rhino from Revit. And let's see if in Rhino this DGN file from Revit is opening correctly. So which means that Revit really didn't export the 3D files into in as DGN format, which is really struggling. And I'll see if we can get DWG file correctly in Rhino. This is what we get in building design, AECOsim building designer. And no, I'm just curious now what result we'll get. And now I just installed the S plugin for Revit. It's called AECOsim, and let's see where the file is. Add in external tools. No, it's not in there. Band. There we go. Could publish I model into the test folder. Let's see. We can only open. It's not the export option. Publish I model, which means should be publish. Why open? Okay. Create new from repository. I have to look at this option. Sorry, I just installed it. Maybe a better workflow. Requires creating a setting database. I'll do the metric. Database file path. Revit link program. Yeah, that's okay. It does something. And now if I see in Rhino the DWG file we exported from Revit, it has at least more errors than AECOsim has, which is quite interesting that DWG file didn't really work well how I expected. I'm just going to close the AECOsim and open again because it was crashed at some point. And I'll open AECOsim building designer connect once more. And in Rhino is opening the WG file. Yes, 2 days later. The test version is only 2 days. Yeah, I think usually you can get 30 days trial version, but in Germany you get only 7 days, which is not very kind from the software vendor. Okay, in Rhino still it's loading, so that Revit file, even though it's a small project, it seems quite heavy. Okay, wow, Rhino is still calculating to load. I'll just wait a bit more. In the meantime, I open the Bentley AECOsim building design again. What's going on with Rhino? Usually it doesn't take that much time. Maybe the DWG file is too heavy there from this German sample file. In the meantime, then I would export this file as IFC file also. Nothing is working. So ISM DGN document. Yeah, I don't mind. Next. Name for substructure test. Next. And it's still initialized. Revit plugin is still initializing this thing. I don't know. Let's keep going. It doesn't matter. We continue. Material type. I don't know. We could map, but just suppose I don't need to map them and just export these. There are lots already created. And in the meantime, what Rhino does is still waiting for the view, which is a bit annoying. I'll pause the video again until it's ready. Okay, so from like this Revit plugin, which create this sort of like I don't know what thing now, and it may have a little bit better where what I don't know what is it even still frames. Maybe some of them is not really mapped. I don't know what exactly this is. Then maybe it's between structural work. I have to watch or see the manual, but something is better. It's some geometries here. Probably yes, it's that something is there with this plugin, but it's not perfect. It looks like to me more like only structural part is exported rather than architectural part. Or maybe architectural part is I didn't map them correctly, and it somehow only the other structural part only remaining here from Revit. It came from Revit, but it's still there are still some things are going. Still, I'm creating repository from that plugin. But it's interesting. There's something between MicroStation side, Bentley side, and Revit side. There seems to be some collaboration to work together. And I can see that it's a slab, and of course there's some stuff not perfectly mapped, but there is something going on. Rhino is still struggling to open it. Yeah, that's right. The structural synchronizer. So I don't know what that is. I'll just shut down. Um, and error occurred. Report for details. You can see the report. Blah blah. And yes. So failed to export analytical. So that was more this publishing ISM model. It was more for structural content, would say. Yes, right. So it's more like a structural content. And settings, you can map them already in advance, and you can use families and stuff. I need more information for this plugin. I think it's more or less structural things you can map. Anyway, Rhino is kind of freezed. Now it start to work, and let's see. Yes, in Rhino. So eventually, the DWG export was okay from Revit, but the DWG export from Revit, and I just don't understand why. But as you can see here, we this Revit model from DWG file, which is quite heavy, I would say. Um, and I'll just purge the layer, and we have many export result. So if I hide there, okay. So now it's clear that this model even has the timber wooden frame inside of this model. It's quite over detailed model, which is funny because it's I don't see any wow these windows. Some families are very to detail. Some of them is okay. Well, that's anyway depends on the office how they prefer to work. But I just realized that it has quite a lot of detail. Even this block of insulation, and they did quite well model for the framings even. Probably they will calculate all the but yeah, interesting. Yeah. So what I'll do now, since we failed to import DWG file from Revit to AECOsim, what I'll do is I'm going to simply export this Rhino file, and let's see if we can open correctly in the Rhino file in um, AECOsim Building Designer. So this is one of the good thing about. If the DW doesn't work well, Building Designer is for import that did Rhino, then we could Rhino file previous Rhino didn't work. We can open Rhino file in AECOsim Building Designer directly. So go import. I'll say 3D modeling file. Not 3ds. Sorry, we need 3DM file. So 3DM. Let's click on test file we just saved as Rhino 5, and I'm going to hit open to open. And let's see, I'm now still curious, and all this workflow is actually to somehow make it correct and somehow be able to work with Revit and MicroStation. I am investing this test. So maybe some of the video I'm recording here is really private, personal, so not many people would be interesting. But yeah, I would appreciate if you leave the comments on this workflow I'm testing for. Would be really appreciate. I would really appreciate for that. Wow, this model is really detailed actually. Okay, where I don't like too much detail for this kind of. So finally, Rhino model is imported inside of AECOsim Building Designer. Um, yes, so DWG import, which we export, the DWG which we export from Revit was fair, but as you can see now, when I'm import, so that DWG file not directly import in AECOsim, but import in Rhino first, and after that I import Rhino file in AECOsim Building Designer, and it looks like working better. As you can see, all the element from Rhino is exactly same in here. So which means now we can actually select them based on the layers, and after that we can assign them again as a building components, and of course we can export them to IFC file one more time. So I will try here, for example, the ceilings. Here we can say ceiling annotation, ceiling tag. That's strange. Is that it really a layer? No, it was wrong layer. um to be honest, probably window. I'm not sure. Windows are not selected. Wall, yes, walls are selected, so I can say here assign to the part, apply to the part, IFC, and I'll say IFC wall simply, and apply, and warehouse and automate. So these elements now I assign to wall. Of course, I can probably let's change one layer, and then we can export it to see if it works okay or not. So now I'm going to select the layer called let's say glass. What is glass? Okay, so this glass I'll assign them as window or facade. Looks like window is IFC, and say to window should be okay. And so these are now applied to window, and now I'll export them to be that's column foundation. Probably we can try with the foundation, structural foundation, assigned to IFC, and IFC slab, IFC foundation footing. I think that's way to go. So let's test now. I'll export those element as IFC file, and the elements which is mapped will be exported as a mapped IFC entities. With element which just remain as a Rhino layer, then they will just exported as a object. So Revit to Rhino to AECOsim, IFC. In the meantime, I'm just going to open Solibri model viewer. So this file is large file, so probably it will take a couple of minutes. I'll get back to the video once the export is done. So the export process is finished. It took me about 5 minutes to export. Now I'm going to import the result in Solibri, and it is large file, but yes, let's see how big this. So over 100 megabyte IFC file, and in Solibri now it's opening. And if you look at the model, I make to be architectural color. Yes, exactly. Everything came in a way. Geometry is totally fine, which in Revit sometimes it doesn't work that well when you export IFC file. And entities, of course, which we mapped as a footing, they came as a footing, as you can see. And the wall objects are also came as a wall, which is really nice. And windows, they are all here. Perfect. And the rest of them is object. If you look at the section, yes. So all the elements came how we expected from the model. Some of the elements are really difficult to see, so I'll probably set back the model to original model color, which is still white. Yeah. So I'll finish the video from here.